Welcome to the show. It's time to dive in. Talking sports with Evan. Let the fun begin. From the Brewers to the Packers, we cover it all. Wisconsin pride, we stand tall. The Baggers on the field making history. With every touchdown, it's a victory. From Camp Randall to the court, we chill out. Wisconsin sports, we make our state proud. Feel the energy, the passion in the air. Join the conversation, we got stories to share. From the Bucks' big wins to the Brewers' great plays, we'll keep you entertained through all the game day. Sports with Evan, it's where we belong. Wisconsin's heart.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. It's a later edition of Talking Sports with Evan, and I'm fresh in from watching the Bob Uecker movie that is set to hit theaters tomorrow officially, but it was available in select theaters tonight. And theater in my town was one of the theaters that you're able to watch it. So I decided to go ahead and do a live show here tonight. I am going to talk Badger football. Going to talk a little bit of Brewer baseball. And the other thing I am going to discuss as well is, to start off the show, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the Bob Uecker documentary that is available in theaters tomorrow officially. Before we do dive into all of that, just some quick housekeeping. This is, as I mentioned, Talking Sports with Evan. You are welcome to call or text the talk and text line. I not accepting calls at this time with just text messages. So you can text the show at the Talking Sports with Evan talk and text line 414-454-9771. That's 414-454-9771. You can text the show and you can comment on anything you'd like to comment on the show. Main topic is, does Luke Fickell make it through the season as the Badger head coach? Does he do enough in 2026 to coach the Badgers in 2027? How many wins do you think the Badgers have in 2026? 5 or more? 5 or less? Do they qualify for a bowl game this year? Where do you place the Badgers with their win-loss record? You can text the show that response. And you can watch the show live each and every week on YouTube, Talking Sports with Evan, or on Twitter or X, however you prefer to call it, at Evan Witt Sports. You can also listen to the podcast version of the show on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast just by searching Talking Sports with Evan. Like, subscribe, follow, and please rate the show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would do such a thing. But like I said, starting off the show. Just got home from the Bob Uecker movie. It was showing in the Marcus Cinema in the town that I live in. And I just want to give some thoughts on that really quick. It was really well done. Now, there was a lot that was left out because you had to squeeze it into a 90-minute movie. There's over 4 hours of footage, or more than 4 hours of footage. 40. I forget how many hours of footage, but there was a ton of footage that they collected during this movie, and they had to shrink it into 90 minutes. They didn't really touch much on the 2025 season except for the season opener. But it was a really well done movie about Bob Uecker and talked about, what made Bob Uecker special and unique. And it was his off the cuff humor. He had such great off the cuff humor that it was hard not to laugh. And as a Brewer fan, for those that follow the Brewers, listen to the Brewers on the radio during Bob Uecker calling the games, you've heard the stories. The cooking the brat and the cigarette lighter, for example. We've all heard those stories. And he was very good with the off the cuff humor and could make a 10-0 blowout entertaining. The Brewers could be down 15-0, and he would still be entertaining to listen to. And I think it did a really good job of talking about that, talking about what made him unique, what made him special, and learning about the playing days of Uecker, the family tragedies that struck Bob Uecker, the Belvederes, the WWE, the Major League, or WWF at the time, Major League, Saturday Night Live, and he nearly worked himself to death from from what I gathered watching it. He almost worked himself to death. He ended up having a heart attack and ended up having open heart surgery not long after that. And after that is where he kind of slowed down and just more focused on Brewers baseball instead of all the national stuff and all that. But if you get a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. I highly encourage it. The Uecker movie, well done. You're going to recognize some voices in it from some local with local Milwaukee sportscasters, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, Greg Matzek, for example. You're going to recognize those voices. And I had a hunch, I had a feeling going into the 2024 season that there was something wrong with Uecker. The consensus from people I brought that up with, well, he's 90. Come on now. He's 90 years old. Of course he needs to take more time off. He's old. But there was just something that was strange on how the press release on doing games that year is written. And then with Uecker signing off, Jeff Levering signing off, and then just looking at Christian Yelich in the locker room, looking at his face, looking at his eyes, I knew that Mets game in 2024 was the last time we would ever hear Bob Uecker's voice in the broadcast booth. I didn't know or didn't think it was going to be what ended up happening, but I just knew that we weren't going to see Bob Uecker in the booth anymore after that. And then just kind of reliving that a little bit. They aired the Jeff Levering sign off from that wild card loss to the Mets, and Christian Yelich talking in the locker room after the game, and brought back a lot of emotions that I felt that really hit hard in January of 2025 when his death was announced. Now, the one thing I wish they would have done is when they got to the part announcing that he passed away, and they were airing audio clips of national programs, I wish they would have aired some of the stuff from the local programs. 620 WTMJ 94.5. They did just a remarkable job on covering, Uecker's passing. A lot of comments, insight, conversations about the importance that he had, and instead we had Rick Eisen talking about it. So that's, I guess, the one area I wish we would have had. But overall, if you get a chance to watch it, please check it out. It was a great movie, great documentary, whatever you want to call it. And it's definitely something that's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you laugh and cry at the same time. So that's my thought on that. And yes, make you laugh and cry at the same time. Speaking of making you laugh and cry at the same time, the Badger football team. They have been doing that to us Badger fans. I'm a Badger fan for those watching, and I know a lot of the people that follow me and follow the show are also Wisconsin sports fans. The Badger football team definitely has hurt our feelings a lot over the last couple of years. Well, first off, I do want to mention that if you want to listen to Wisconsin football, men's basketball on the radio, and volleyball on the radio, volleyball has been on 94.5 and 620 in the Milwaukee area the past couple of years, but Badger football is coming home. Badger football was a staple on 620 WTMJ until about 2013, and it's coming home. It's coming back to WTMJ, and that's going to be the Milwaukee home of the Milwaukee. The Wisconsin Badgers. That's going to be the Milwaukee home, and they're going to air up the games on 94.5 and at 620, and you're going to hear Badger basketball, volleyball, hockey, and you're going to hear it across the ESPN Wisconsin app and the WTMJ app, amongst other things. So that was a huge announcement today. Congratulations to everyone at Good Karma Brands that made all that happen. So, but the Badger football on-field product has been a little rough the past couple of years. I think that's very fair to say. And this is a big year for the Badgers. This is a very big year for the Wisconsin Badger football program. What's the season going to look like? What makes the season a success? You can text the show 414-454-9771, or you can comment live on the YouTube or Twitter chat, and I will gladly share your thoughts if you're watching live, your thoughts on the Badger season. What's going to be a successful season to you? I think, first of all, we need to understand the reality of the Badgers not in a good place right now. But looking at their schedule, and maybe I'm just destined for heartbreak all the time. But by looking at the Badger schedule, it is hard not to be excited. Notre Dame, that's going to be a tough one at Lambeau Field. I get it. It's going to be a tough one. But outside of that game, the Badgers don't really have any games on their schedule that make you go, whoop, that's going to be an ass whooping. Last year, they gave Oregon all they could handle, be it Oregon on their schedule. I believe they had Ohio State on the schedule. You had games on the schedule where you're like, well, that's going to be an ass whooping. But non-conference, you have Notre Dame, Western Illinois, Eastern Michigan. No reason why they should not be 2-1 going into the Big Ten slate. Then you open at Penn State. That's going to be a tough one, but Penn State's got a new head coach. They're rebuilding themselves. I think Penn State wins that game, but hey, Penn State's in a position that you can beat them this year. Then you got versus Michigan State at home. That's a winnable game. Michigan State hired a new head coach, former Northwestern head coach, and Pat Fitzgerald. He gets another chance at Michigan State. Michigan State's not been very good the last several years. That's a winnable game. At UCLA, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. They're breaking in a new head coach. They've had down years the past couple years. They've had a really good recruiting class this year, but we'll see how quickly it can blend all together. But that's a game that, if I had to make a guess right now, I would say they'll probably lose, but that's a winnable game. USC at home, likely a loss. USC is a very talented team, but they're not blow the roof off the place talented. Then you go to Iowa to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. That should be a close game. That's a winnable game. Rutgers will be a win. Maryland should be a win. Purdue should be a win. And then Minnesota, potential to be a win. So realistically, you got Western Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Michigan State, Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue. That's 6 wins right there. And then you beat Minnesota, beat Iowa. Now you got 8 wins. And Penn State, UCLA, USC get a win there. Now you're looking at 9 to 10 wins. And I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games, but this Badger season does have a chance to actually be different than what we've grown accustomed to the last couple years. And ultimately, for that to happen, since Luke Fickell got to Wisconsin, aside from lack of preparedness, There's one thing that has stood out in the first 3 years of the Luke Fickell era, and that is the starting quarterback getting injured. The starting quarterback seems to always get hurt. A broken thumb, a torn ACL, whatever the hell happened with O'Brien last year. I still don't think he was as hurt as he says he was. I think he just realized how bad this team was, and he wanted to, not have that stink stay with him. But Colton Joseph, junior quarterback, transferred in this year. He is going to be the determining factor if the Badgers are going to have a decent year or a crappy year. If he can stay healthy, we know Danny O'Neal isn't very good. We know Carter Smith is inconsistent. Colton Joseph transferred in from Old Dominion, and he's a dual threat quarterback. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be very telling for the Badger football program. If he can produce at the quarterback position, that could be very good, very telling for the Badgers. And that's the reason why they could make a bowl game this year. You look at the team as a whole, Eugene Hilton Jr. at wide receiver coming back as a sophomore. Is he going to have a sophomore jump? You got a really good linebacking core led by Posa and Catalano at the linebacker position. You got a actual depth at the offensive line position for a change, something they didn't have the last couple years. So I'm not saying they're going to be light the world on fire team, but I definitely think Wisconsin can be a bowl team. I definitely think the Badgers can make a bowl game. And here's the thing with the Badgers, and I know it's all tentative at this point, they got a really good class coming in 2027. So if you can grow with the people you have now, the underclassmen, plus the freshman class you have coming in for the class of the class of 2027, you finally got something cooking in a positive direction, something that we haven't had since probably 2019 with the Badger football program. Because yes, you can say they shouldn't have never fired Paul Chryst and all that. The program was starting to trend downward towards the tail end of Paul Chryst tenure with the Badgers. But I don't know if Luke Fickell is the guy. I don't know. Maybe it's fool's gold again. I'm getting myself all hyped up for no reason, which wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last time. Hey, I am a homer. I can't look at things objectively. I wear my red goggles, my green goggles, my blue goggles all the time, and I can't look at things objectively ever because I'm a homer, and that's what homers do apparently. But I am excited to see what the Badger football program can do. I'm not saying they're going to compete for a conference title. I'm not saying they're going to, compete for a playoff spot, but we just need to see improvement. I want to see improvement from a year ago. Growth. I want to see a team that when they win, you walk away from that win with a smile saying that was a good win. And when they don't win, you walk away from that loss saying, well, they fought like hell. They're close, and they fought like hell. That's what you need to see. Like, they're likely not beating Notre Dame. But let's be competitive. Let's fight like hell against Notre Dame. Let's fight like hell against Penn State and try to steal a win. Let's beat Iowa. Let's get back to beating Minnesota. Like, those are the things I want to see in 2026. And maybe grow into 2027 when you got a really good recruiting class coming in. You're going to have another round of transfer portal kids coming in and coming out. And maybe you can be a team in 2027 that you can be a team to reckon with in the college football ranks. And hey, if the wheels fall off, if you have last year all over again, Luke Fickell's likely gone. And he's no longer going to be the head football coach at Wisconsin. And we'll see what the Badgers do from there. So that is my thoughts on the Badger football program. I think for the first time in a few years, they appear to be headed in the right direction. And Colton Joseph is who it's all going to come down to. If he can stay healthy, I think he can do something for the Badger football program. So, Milwaukee Brewers. I'm going to touch on the Brewers quickly. Trade deadline coming up, and we're seeing Scubo, Mason Miller, the closer for the Padres. I think it's Mason Miller. His last name is Miller. I've seen their names pop up recently on guys that the Brewers are or have looked into. When it comes to the Brewers making a huge trade, when it comes to the Brewers making a huge CC Sabathia level trade, I'll believe it when I see it. Where I think the Brewers are going to do is what we've already seen them do. They traded for a couple pitchers from Houston, one starting out in the bullpen. I think they do those type of trades to try to strengthen the bullpen and the starting rotation. What I think they have to do, I think they have to get another starter. I'm not saying it has to be Scubo. I'm not saying it has to be Joe Ryan, but I think they have to get another starter. I think they have to get another bat if they truly want to be a World Series team. This Brewers team could be a true World Series contender if they can get another starting pitcher in there and they can get another bat. And I don't really know where that bat is going to be in the lineup right now. Joey Ortiz is playing really well, but you can't depend on Joey Ortiz to continue to hit the ball the way he is for the next 3 months. Cooper Pratt's been hitting the ball really well, but he is still a rookie. Laura, still a rookie. But I do think they need another bat in the lineup, maybe at third base. And did have a couple comments or questions with the Brewers. Is Frelick tradable? Is Bowers tradable? The problem with Frelick, I don't think we see him again until September. I think the shoulder injury is going to keep him out for a while. Pat Murphy didn't sound very promising when he talked about it after he left the game injured. I don't think we see Sal Frelick anytime soon. And you're not going to be able to get anything of value for Frelick right now with him being hurt. Now, I think you could trade him in the offseason. I think you could trade him during the offseason to get something better value in return, but you're still dealing with the shoulder. Who knows how he comes back? And we don't really know what the issue is. And Jake Bauers, he's been bad. He's been in a big slump lately. I don't know if you get a lot of value there either. I think Frelick's the big leaguer that could get you something if he's healthy. And then bring up Made. Is Made the needed bat? The issue with Jesus Made, he's 19. Jesus Made, I think is going to be a very special player in baseball. I think he's going to be really, really good. But the problem is he's 19. He's double A. To expect him to go from double A to the big leagues as a 19-year-old kid in a pennant race is going to be a lot to ask. I think the Brewers see Made as more of a 2027 option. If there's a season in 2027. I think they see him more as a 2027 option on this roster rather than a right now. I think him and Andrew Fisher are two guys that are completely untouchable in the Brewers farm system. I think they'd be willing to part or trade just about anybody else. I know some fans have other guys who we feel are untouchable in a trade, but I'm fairly confident when I say I think the Brewers have Jesus Mate and Fisher as two guys who are just completely untouchable when it comes to the trade deadline. I don't think they trade those two for any reason at all. Because with Fisher, you're looking at your likely starting third baseman next year. And with Mate, I don't really know where he plays in the big league level. I think he starts the year in Nashville, and I think they try to figure it out from there. The problem is you just have, because Mate can play third, Mate can play short, Mate can play second. Bryce Turang, unless you trade him, he's under team control till 2030. Cooper Pratt, you just gave a bunch of money to. And Eric Fisher, maybe he can go to first base instead, and you put Mate at third. Maybe that's an option. But we'll see what happens there. But I am excited for the trade deadline. I'm hearing seeing on social media from national guys, the Brewers' names being mentioned are somebody who's going to be very aggressive at the trade deadline, or they're expecting at the deadline. But I'm very excited for it. And talking about, so does that mean Turang is on the table? Well, I don't think he's on the table now. I don't think he's on the table next year, because I believe Bryce Turang is under team control until 2030. Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent in 2030. So you still have him under team control next year, in 2028 and 2029. I think if they do end up moving on from Bryce Turang, I think it'd be closer to 2028 or 2029. But things can change, as we know with the Brewers. Things can change in a hurry. They traded Corbin Burns before people thought they were going to trade him. They traded Freddie Peralta this offseason when he wasn't really making much money at all in Milwaukee. Ends up working out better for the Brewers either way. But with that said, I appreciate you all watching. Thanks for the interaction. I will be back next week talking some Packer training camp and NFL training camp. I do have a guest lined up for next Wednesday. So I will have a show tentatively planned for next week, Wednesday. And we'll go from there. But until that, hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and I will get back at you next week.